Hey, my name is Kern. Welcome to a bite-sized stupid tech, where I'm going to try to show you how you can do a 2-in-1 Master Sword Somaria Ganon fight. So first of all, I'm just going to show off the tech what it is that we're trying to do. All right, and then I'm going to try to clear the Somaria block by putting it towards the top of the arena. Sometimes it works and it falls down, sometimes it doesn't, but it might save you like a quick swap or an item. So that's generally what we're trying to do. So the idea is if you place a cane block down, it can kind of act as a wall. So you can bounce off of it and get 2 double spins, or basically a double spin, 2 spins in with a single spin release, which allows you to dramatically reduce the number of cycles that Ganon has for phases 1 and 2. This is especially important for phase 2. The 2-cycle phase 1 is very, very difficult. It's the hardest part of the whole tech. But what I'd like to drive home is that the 1-cycle phase 2 is very doable. And the great thing about this is that it's consistent no matter what RNG you get. There is an RNG in which Ganon warps top right, and you can use this corner to double spin without a Somaria block. That's a nice little tech to know, and can speed things up quite a bit. You might also notice that I use the cape. That's required in some RNGs, like the RNG that you saw here where Ganon warps to the top of the arena. There's just no way that you can 1-cycle phase 2 if he has that particular RNG. So this is where the cape and the cane comes in handy. You need to pop the cape on for the very last double spin or to not get hit by the fire bat. So let's take a look and break this down at how exactly this tech works. So first of all, as you fall in the pit, it's very important that you're trying to hold cardinal left. You're going to transition to a diagonal up left input, but you don't want to transition too early because if you do, Link will be facing up, which is the wrong direction for you to be placing the Somaria block. So you need to be holding left until you're slashing your sword, then transition to up left. It doesn't need to be on the first frame that you slash, but the earlier the better because the timing on this is really tight, specifically if you're going for the 2-cycle phase 1. Then it's very tight timing. Here I got it maybe the second, perhaps the third frame it looks like, depending on based on this animation. Also, ideally, it's nice to place the Somaria block before you see the Ganon text, but if not, then that's also fine. So I'm going to clear the text box by tapping X in this case, since I already have the Somaria block down, and I'm continuously holding B on the D-pad because my sword hasn't completely charged. But as soon as the text box is clear, I need to wait in a fraction of a second for my sword to finish charging, and then I need to release the spin. However, I also need to do a directional button into the Somaria block. So let me just show you what happens if I don't do directional button. So there's always 3 text boxes, even in the randomizer for this Ganon fight text box. So you can see I went right through the block there. It did not act like a wall. This is the hardest part about the tech. It's not actually a wall unless you're doing a directional button into, or, you know, as you're hitting the block. So it can even be, I can even be holding right there as I'm releasing the spin. It doesn't matter which direction. As long as you're holding a directional button when you're recoiling, the Somaria block will act like a wall. One interesting thing about Somaria blocks is that, you know, you'll push them, right, if you continuously hold the button. So if I were to, say, spin and then hold for too long, I could push the Somaria block. But an interesting quality of Somaria blocks is if you are holding a directional button into a block, it won't move at all. So what that means is that the D buttons that you should be using, you know, preferentially should be diagonals, so that it arrests your movement during the sword spin and you don't like clip through it, but also so that if you keep holding the direction too long after you've finished the sword spin, then you won't push the block, and that's very important. The timing is really tight because what you want to do is like slash your sword as soon as possible, and as you're slashing your sword, that's a good time to release the D-pad. So the action that I do kind of on the controller is like I might be holding down a button and then I tap the other one and release, and then tap the other one and release. Like it's hard to see the D-pad here, I'll show you, but it's like, you know, you're holding a button and then you're tapping the next one and then you release. This is very slow-mo, of course, like this. That's the kind of action you're looking for. Of course, much faster speed than all of this. So let's see that at speed again. So I'm holding left, slash my sword as soon as I can, place down the block, take note of whether or not my spin has finished charging. You can tell by audio cues and by visual cues, either way. So I'm going to continue to hold B throughout this since I did not get a first frame sword charge. So when I clear, I'm going to continue holding my sword, and then I'm going to do two double spins. The next thing I do is I move right and explode the block. So I just moved right and then exploded the block. Now, my movement from here is just based off of how I originally developed this 2-in-1 strat. You might be able to get away with different movement, but this is what I do. I move right, then explode the block, then go down just slightly in part to dodge a trident, and then I have to read his RNG. If he's warping close to the right side as he is now, I need to be moving at an extreme right in order to juke his trident. Otherwise, if he's warping bottom left, then I might dodge the trident a little bit and start to get in position. The position that you're always going in for this second cycle of Ganon is just to the top right of him. You want to be just to the top right. That way you'll always dodge the trident. So in this case, it looked like to me he was warping right. So I'm going to go slightly down then to the right. There's that trident juke. You can see it took a lot longer to return to his hand. This gives me the extra time to get all 3 double spins in, which would otherwise be very difficult to do. This particular pattern, he warped the farthest away from me that Ganon possibly could. So it was really nice that I was able to juke his trident. That was a very important part of this tech. Right now, it appears to me like he's warping to the top right. So the Somaria block is not necessary in order to get the 1 cycle phase 2. I'll try to show that off now, but then I'll also show you how you can 1 cycle phase 2 in any position, even if you get a 3 cycle phase 1, which means that instead of warping to the top, Ganon will be warping to the bottom of the arena. The most important thing, if you don't get anything else, is that you 1 cycle phase 2, because that's the longest cycle to repeat. Two, try to anticipate a little bit. There we go. So you always have to take damage from that that fire bat on the left side. You need to dodge. For the final double spin there, you could see that I dodged the fire bat to the right that was going to come at me. Where that fire bat appears might be based on Armos RNG, so you might have to dodge different bats, but you want to dodge the first bat, and then you want to be moving left as you release the final double spin. You will get hit by a fire bat, but you should be able to get both spins in if you've done it right. So that's a little bit difficult, but that's how you do the tech without the use of the cane or the cape if he happens to warp top right. However, what happens if you miss the 2 cycle and you get a 3 cycle phase 1 instead, or just he warps anywhere else? And the idea is you want to use the cane block there. So let's take a look at a different place that he's going to warp to. So here I got 5 hits on him. This is bad, right? I kind of clipped through the block a little bit. My positioning was bad. I only got 5 hits on him. It's now not going to be possible for me to do a 1 cycle phase 2 in the position that he's currently warping to, because I would need to get 1 double spin on him plus an additional spin. And I can do that. I can do that before he completes this phase, and he's going to look left and look right and look left. But the problem is that I'm going to start my sword spin, my first sword spin for phase 2, too late. It's going to be impossible for me to get it, no matter what. Even if I use the cape, it doesn't matter. It's going to be impossible for me to get it. If you do not get all those 3 double spins in during the second cycle of phase 1, you simply cannot do it. You cannot do a 1 cycle phase 2 in the next place he warps. So in this case, what I want to happen is I want to get him close to where I need him to be, but I don't want to start the phase early. I want him to warp to the south now of the arena. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get all 3 hits in, but I'm going to wait on the 3rd hit until he releases the trident spin. So what I've just done there is I've ensured that he's ready to go for the next phase, but he hasn't started it too early. And now I have all the time in the world to set myself up. It maybe cost me an additional few seconds because he's going to get an additional warp in, but it saves me a lot more time than that since I don't have to do an additional cycle of phase 2. Okay, so now I'm going to get in position. Because he's warping to the south now, I want to be on the left side of him. When he's on the top, you want to be on the right side. It just depends on where the circle of fire bats is going to be. So I want to be on the left side, facing to the left of the arena in order to place my Somaria block down. And I'm going to wait for him to look. That's 4, 5, 6. I like to menu to the cape in the middle of a spin. 7, 8. 9, 10. Slash the sword, pop the cape on, final double spin. So I hope that you can take away from that like it's actually pretty easy to get a one cycle phase 2 as long as you've practiced the canceling your momentum into the block, that timing. That massaging back and forth timing is the hardest part of the tech, and it looks a lot easier than it is. But yeah, just the ability to, release a spin and then know when to start your slash and then release the D button is the most important part there. One final thing that I want to make sure that I drive home is do pace yourself. This tech might take a very long time to learn. I know it took me a long time to learn, and I still wouldn't say that I've quite mastered it yet. I probably get the 2-in-1 Master Sword Somaria Ganon fight probably a little more than 50% of the time. I can get the one cycle phase 2 a lot more consistently than that, but it's still something that I have to practice all the time and keep up on, and it takes a long time. This is not like Silverless Ganon level tech. It's not like that. It's not going to click right away. It's closer to a quick kill on Argus, or like the fastest kills that you can possibly do on Cold Stare, like the NMG quick kills. It's closer to that level of difficulty because of the precision of the tech and also the uniqueness to this fight. So do pace yourself, don't expect to get it right away, and keep practicing at it. And one thing that you might do is maybe not even start in the Ganon room, because some of the things that are unique about this tech are things that you can practice in isolation. For example, to get the one cycle phase 2, it's very important that you know how to anticipate releasing your sword spin. So just try out, like, how quick can I, release my spin? Like, that's too quick, right? And this is too late. I want to be able to anticipate it a little bit so that I can get the spins, as fast as possible. So that's one aspect. But also, like, how quick can I re-slash my sword, Like, if I slash too early, then it's not going to slash. If I slash too late, then I've lost valuable time. And it can be very tight to get that one cycle phase 2, depending on how early you were able to get that first double spin in the cycle. And even if you can get in early, sometimes it's very hard. So that's one thing you can practice in isolation. Another thing, and this is why I'm in Bumper Cave, is you can use a bumper to sort of simulate, being rebounded off of Ganon. And you can even do it with a sword spin here. So you can just like place a Somaria block down, and then I'm going to collide with the bumper and then release my spin, and then just kind of figure out the timing. Like, how long do I want to hold the D button? So what I'm looking for here is I don't want to hold the button too long, that I'm going to move the block. So like, I don't want to hold it too long like that. But if I release too early on the D-pad, I'm going to clip partially into the block. Let's see that. So there we go. I clipped partially into the block because I released too early. So this is a good way to practice the timing. And you can even kind of practice these things in concert, like the releasing and re-slashing of the spin and anticipating and all that stuff. So do pace yourself. If you're able to get this tech, I would really love to see it. Clip it, send it to me. I'd love to see it. Either the 2-in-1 Master Sword Ganon fight all together. If that happens, I'm going to throw you a party because that's so hard to get. But even just the one cycle phase 2 can be very challenging to get. So I'd love to see that. I'd love to see more people doing this. I see that more people are starting to learn Somaria Ganon tech, but I haven't really seen anybody attempt the 2-in-1 Master Sword Ganon fight. I've seen, like, for instance, Kyung has picked up these strats. I've seen him do like a one cycle phase 2 with it, but I think it's still pretty rare that people are going for the optimal Master Sword Somaria Ganon fight. And so I hope that people do pick this up. I hope this video helps. Thank you so much for watching.